am Tara, and this is Michael from
Living on a Dime.
I missed you.
Michael.
Living on a dime. Or is it loving on a dome?
Oh. So today we're with the homesteadnetwork.com, and we aren't talking about anything homesteading.
Hi, Tara. Hi, Jeanette.
I'm
Shirley.
kidding. Okay,
Des.
so Mom was doing her Penny Pinching Mama story. If any of you were interested, remember she was doing her series on her life. Everyone keeps saying it's your life. I happen to be there too.
Yeah, but see, I was more important. You didn't count at the time, see?
I guess not.
Yeah.
I suffered
Oh.
too.
You suffered too, huh?
No, just kidding. So Penny Pinching Mama's series. So we're answering questions. So if you guys have questions about that series, like how is my father still alive?
I'm sure you want to answer all those. You want to leave it that wide open? So,
What kind of questions, Michael?
No, not yet.
Linda says, hello, I'm kind of new and I love you guys.
Hi,
Linda.
Linda.
Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to start off. This has nothing to do with Mom's story.
Actually,
But I got a question. What?
for the people that aren't familiar with her story, did you want to give them a little more?
Well, I already told them
Summary?
it's Jill and it's her story.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Mom raised 2 teenagers on $500 a month. And she's been talking about her story on YouTube. And we stopped with the big blizzard. I think, wasn't that the last one?
That was the last one.
The big blizzard, when we got stuck in the blizzard going from Kansas to Colorado. And that's where we stopped at. So we're going to answer questions up to here before then. So while everyone's getting on, I have one question that I think it was Denise asked me. Have we ever met Amy Decision? The answer is no, we have not.
Some people might want to know who Amy Decision is.
Amy Decision wrote the Tightwad Gazette, but she does get credit for inspiring Dining on a Dime, because what happened was I was pregnant with my first child on bed rest almost 20 years ago.
What?
In 2 months it'll be 20 years ago. Oh my goodness.
You sure look
And-
good for having a kid that old.
I know.
I was crying too.
And she said in her Tightwad Gazette how she had tons and tons of people ask her to write a frugal cookbook, but she didn't like to cook and she didn't think she could write one comprehensive enough. Mm-hmm. I thought to myself, well, I could do that. And I
What
came
you meant
up...
is you could get a lot of other people to do that.
Yeah,
while
I
you
was just going to say the same thing. Way to go, Michael.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And I spent 2 years writing the recipes in here. And we do have everything from flour tortillas to homemade taco seasoning, to how to make a roast, how to make mashed potatoes, how to cook scrambled eggs.
Just quick.
We have 1,200
Sweeten
recipes and
milk.
tips in here. And at the time, 20 years ago, there were no frugal cookbooks that were as comprehensive as this.
There weren't even cookbooks that were comprehensive because it was the time of Julia
Yeah.
Childs, and so it was all the French gourmet fancy type thing.
Yes.
And so
Becky says, a cookbook! I'm sure that's a Twilight Zone reference.
Oh, yes, exactly. So that's how I got inspired, was actually through that. And Amy Decision did email me. One time when we had a problem with the recipe and I had someone threatening me within an inch of my life because I stole one of Amy's recipes. And I didn't steal one of Amy's recipes, just so you know. But anyway, I did email her asking her permission because I didn't want to inadvertently steal it. So anyway, 20 years later, 450,000 some odd, more or less, probably more. That's how we got Dining on a Dime started. So no, I haven't met Amy Decision, but she inspired it. And to this day, really, Dining on a Dime is one of the most comprehensive cookbooks for frugal cooking out there.
Yeah.
It does not talk about using coupons. That's why it's so different.
But
so
the thing too is they didn't have cookbooks that did except for like Betty Crocker, I think, and maybe one or other. But even those were
they didn't have like taco seasoning.
They didn't tell you
and-
how to make
yeah.
a roast. They didn't tell you
Yeah.
how to mash potatoes, and ours does all
Yeah,
that stuff
it's
too.
all the basic recipes you need. And We have a 100% guarantee on this, and I've had 3 returns out of 450,000, so I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Did you have a question, Dave?
Yes, Dave.
So, Becky was first, and the reason why she said a cookbook was because she asked did she win any.
Oh, she won for being first.
She was wondering if she got a cookbook.
Ah, you're funny. I guess we need to do a giveaway, don't we? It's almost time.
So we had a few things. Amy in Australia wants to know, will Mama Jill adopt me? And Sue says, love your jumper, Mama Jill.
You know what a jumper is, don't you?
Yes.
It's the top. Do you know that, Michael?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
We used to, when we were in the Catholic school.
Oh,
yes,
thank
I did
you.
go to Catholic school. The girls had to wear jumpers.
Well, a jumper is more like
It was like a
in
little
America,
dress
it's
thing.
like a dress
Yeah.
thing. But over in Australia and England, a jumper is a sweater or a top.
Yeah,
Is what they
and
did.
one other question that we keep getting all the time is, will you do a video on your radiant faces?
Yes.
Yes.
Did it.
Oh,
sorry, Michael.
Speaking of radiant faces, Karen says Mike's face cleared up. I know, I didn't get any kisses for 24 hours.
oh, stop it!
Listen to you.
Took me a minute. Yes, we are going to do a show on our makeup routine next week. I don't know if we're going to do it live or if that's going to be a taped one, but we are going to do one on how we keep so young looking.
Oh, listen to you.
It's
Yes.
all because of me, I'm sure. Yes, Dave.
Connie wants to know, Jill, how did you get the name Nan?
Oh, well, when my first grandson was born, when my kids were young, it was really confusing for them because you had like 7, Tara had like 7 grandmas.
I was born, I had 7 grandmas. And when my kids were born, they had, was it 8? It was 7 or 8 when my kids were born.
Yeah, so there were so many grandmas that when we talked to the kids, it was hard for them to, know who we were talking about all the time.
Which Grandma Cooper?
Yeah, and that type of thing. So when my grandkids were born, I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and be called Nana and let the other grandmas be called Grandma because that's what they asked to be called. Well, it was kind of funny because after I became Nana to the kids, my one grandson, that's all he talked about. So his other grandma, she decided she wanted to be Nana too, so I just shortened it to Nan and we went from there. So
now I have no idea what I'm going to be called.
I won't even say what you're going to be
Oh,
called.
Nan.
We have to change our names before I'm a grandmother.
I'm going to call you Grandma
Yes.
Lightning.
Yes, we do. Des says, Mama Jill, love your sweater.
Oh, thank you. It's got the gingerbread men on it, of course.
So we had a few questions. Well, first of all, Leanne says, Jill, your faith is an inspiration. And she also, in a separate comment, said, yes, how is your father still alive?
How is he still alive?
Do you want to answer that, or should I give you another question?
So he is alive, and he lives on
Listen,
the east side of the country. And so my dad. Oh my goodness, do we have to get into this right at the beginning? It's Christmas.
We can wait, hold it for later.
So let's see, how much do we want to go into this?
Well,
So,
let's just say this. The kids, we had a relationship with him for several years
We
after he left.
did,
For a long
yes.
time. And then a few things happened, and we might get into this more detail on another video because it's kind of
Probably.
long and involved. But after, there was a certain point where things happened and the kids kind of broke away from him then.
Yeah.
And we saw him a couple of times, but then with him being so far away, the contact was kind of broken. And then just recently, you saw him a couple of years ago, you started interacting with him a little bit, but then now it's gone again. So, but we'll do a whole video where you can ask your questions on that type of thing because it's kind of long and involved.
Karen
this is that video.
says, tell Dave he's really good behind the scenes.
Yes, and he's doing really good over there.
So yes, my dad
Dave.
is my dad is alive, but I don't really have much to contact with him now. So I don't have any contact with him actually. So yeah, that's
The
pretty
kids
much
did
where
try to keep.
Yes,
They
we
tried
did.
to keep the relationship going, but it just didn't quite work.
Yeah. Selfish little twit. Oh wait, sorry. I'm kidding. No, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. So yes, Dave.
So Philosophy said, I was wondering as individuals, what's your favorite Bible verses or books of the Bible?
James.
Well, that's deep.
James.
We have to get so deep.
I don't know where mine's found. It's in Proverbs. It's be still and know I am God. But where is it found, Michael? Do you know? I think it's Proverbs 40. 46, 42. I'm really bad about addresses.
Let me look. Psalm 46:10.
46. I knew it was 46 though.
Yep.
Mine, I like the book of James. I don't know why.
Because of the dog?
No. I don't know. I like it.
It is
Do
a
you
good
have
book.
one?
Me? I
Yeah.
like Romans.
Yes.
Oh, you
I like-
for a favorite book?
Well, I like Romans because
I-
if you didn't have the whole rest of the Bible, it pretty much tells
true.
the whole story of the Bible in Romans.
That's true.
Which
I
one is
think-
yours?
My favorite verse
well,
is
the one with
Revelation 21, 4 and 5.
I
which-
think
And that one.
Psalms is one of my favorite for comfort. I don't know. I don't have really a favorite because I use so
Yeah.
many of them for different
It just
types of
depends
things,
on what's
yeah.
happening. Okay, here, come here. Tell them which one's your favorite.
It's the one with Jonathan in it. I don't
Jonathan and
remember. Yeah,
With
And
Jonathan
why
David.
is your favorite with Jonathan and David?
because Jonathan is in the story, and my name is Jonathan.
And who's his best friend?
No.
David, the guy behind the scenes.
So with that, what happened was we had David, and then Jack was born, and Ellie wanted to call him Jack, but we had to have an official name, and I didn't like Jack as a official name. And I liked the name Joseph, but we couldn't figure. But I didn't think Joseph was a good name. So literally, the lady was sitting there, and she said, "I have to fill out your birth certificate." And I said, "Okay, we'll just call him Jonathan, and then maybe him and his brother will be friends." You know, I don't plan things out too well.
But they ended up, it was family names because David
Yep.
is her brother
My
is
brother.
David. And then Jack is my brother.
Yep.
So we ended up with family
All my
names.
kids have biblical and family names.
Yeah.
That's like all of our middle names
And-
start with J.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all of our middle names start with J.
Except for Emily's because.
So all of our biological family, we have MJ and TJ and BJ and EJ
DJ.
and DJ and JJ.
So Louise wants to know if you contact your dad for Christmas.
No.
No.
Nope, I don't.
He
Fine.
kind of drifts in and out. Every now and then we hear from him, but then for a long time
Yeah.
we hear
Yeah.
nothing.
I don't know. It's a very strange situation. It's not like I don't hate my dad or anything. Don't think that. I don't. But he doesn't want to be a dad or a grandpa. When it's convenient for him, then it's okay. But otherwise, he doesn't really want to take the effort to be a dad or a grandpa. And so I just kind of said, you know what? I'm tired. I don't have time to deal with this. And I had problems with his sister on that side and that kind of thing. And I was just like, you know what? Let's just forget this. I just have other things I need to move on.
Well, we're so sick, we can't handle a lot of the emotional things that go with all that stuff too. So
Somebody was asking Dave his favorite verse. I don't know if Dave knows a verse. Do you?
No, I don't specifically have.
He knows the Bible. He knows what it basically says, but in terms of a specific, what I mean is,
I know what you mean,
By
but
the
it came
reference,
out funny.
it did come out funny. I didn't mean it that way. He hasn't been to Awana, so.
I never pay attention to specific verses.
Yeah, we never sent our kids to Awana because I have post-traumatic Awana syndrome. So.
Oh.
Lynn says, Jill, I bought 3 Dining on a Dime books and several of the other books. I would really love an apron.
You guys are torturing me.
By the way, Mom's Penny Pinch and Mama is available in ebook now if you guys want it. So we do have that on ebook.
Let's see. So we had some... Leanne... Oh, somebody asked, do you know Ryan Swayze? Any idea who that is?
I have no idea who that is.
Let's
Do you know who
see.
Ryan Swayze is?
What? Leanne asked
know.
if, Jill, can you say what the most important thing was in your faith that kept you close to God through those hard times?
She had no choice.
It was God or nothing, huh? The most important thing in my faith, I'm not sure I know what she means exactly. Read it again to me, would you mind,
She just says,
Michael?
can you say what the most important thing was in your faith that kept you close to God through those hard times?
Well, in other words, like Bible study or prayer.
Well, I think
or...
recognizing him when he was working, maybe.
That could be it. It was, I think what happened with me was, ever since I was young, I would have things happen, little things, and God would kind of show me how he worked things out for me. You know, different things would happen, and then he'd come through for me. They were small, little things, and I kind of gave him the credit for the things that happened. And then it worked up to the big stuff. By the time, it was just a slow process. By the time the things really started happening in my life, I was so ingrained in God's just going to take care of it. You know, it was just an automatic reflex for me. And I think that's why it's important to show and talk about. So many families don't talk about God within their family network. Don't we talk about God as if he's just another person right here in the room with us all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just a regular, we don't stop and think about it. It's as if we're talking about Dave or BJ or any of the kids.
Well, and we talk about it like just...
And we don't make a big deal out of it. It's just like
just literally 2 minutes before we went on the show. Jack asked me to cut him an apple, so I cut him an apple. And I turned and I had the knife in my hand. And we stabbed him in the eye.
Instantly.
I think we do that a lot more than, I guess, normal people do. I don't know. But
it's a daily common occurrence for us, so that by the time all these things happened, it wasn't an effort. It was just automatically, no matter how bad the stuff was, God was just going to take care of it. It was just very simple in my mind, you know.
And I think if you're wanting to build your faith, you need to start doing that. When that semi-truck misses you by a hair.
Mm-hmm. You don't say, how lucky was that?
You don't say, how lucky was that? You say, thank you, Lord, for protecting me. When, not right now. I'm getting notes from behind the scene. Or like when the kids were in their really bad car accident 2 years ago. BJ rear-ended an SUV, and it literally landed on the hood right on top of them. And it should have killed them, really. I mean, it was that close that it should have killed them. And they were fine. And, you know, and I told Ellie
was a foot away.
Yeah. I mean, the SUV tires were like this far from her face. And completely smashed in the whole front of his little tiny car. And I told Ellie later, I said, I was praying every single day that God would protect you guys, because I said, I knew you were going to be in an accident one day going to school. I said, I just knew when BJ started driving, nothing for him, just that I just had a feeling that they were going to be in an accident and that I should be praying that they would be safe. And when it happened, I was like, thank you, Lord, for protecting them. And so it's just a normal
Well, even like
thing in our
yesterday,
life.
Tara and I went to Costco. Okay, you just go to the grocery store. Now, my frugal self almost had a heart attack with people throwing mounds of food and all this stuff into these carts, and it's blowing my frugal mind away. But you know what? Instead of dwelling on that part of it, instantly I thought, and I even told Tara while we were walking out, I said, do you know how grateful we need to be that we live in a country that we can just go to about any grocery store we want, and we have all this tons of food to I mean, it just blows my mind when I go to the grocery store to think we have so much. And so just in a daily living, everything we do, not even with our protection, but in gratefulness for everything, you know. Like I was driving out here, and the heat was going, it was bitter. It was like minus 17 that morning when I left, and the heat was going, and I thought, I am so thankful. Not only I have a car I can drive to keep me warm, I'm not having to stand out in the cold or walk someplace, but that I have a heater.
Yeah.
And you have to start slow, you know, and you can make this an automatic.
Well, you've had the experience of not having some of those things.
Well,
too.
yeah. See, I've been without that stuff before, so I guess it's taught me to really be grateful.
My first car was a Volkswagen.
It was.
And I kid you not, it was one of the worst winters we'd had. Well, the first worst winter was when we moved back from Springfield in 1983, but then the second one was in 1988 when I started driving. And I had a Volkswagen, and I kid you not, only my left foot was on fire. Nothing else was warm.
If you guys have a Volkswagen,
it's like sitting on an ice cube
blows
with your foot on
out
fire.
into one little hole by your foot.
There's only a little hole. And I used to literally, to get back and forth to work, I would have to take an ice scraper and at every stop sign scrape my windows to get it you know, clear. So now, whenever like today when I went grocery shopping, I was thankful that I had a car with a heater that worked. And I wasn't having, you know, to scrape it.
Yeah, because we just had so much of
Yeah, so, okay, sorry.
So we had a whole bunch of other stuff. Somebody asked me a question because I started to say about my verse. And Pamela was asking if I could repeat it. It's Revelation 21, 4 and 5, which is, he will wipe away, well, this is when talking about when Jesus comes back at the end. It says he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, look, I'm making everything new.
that. That's a good one, Michael. Yeah, that's
because I feel like you kind of look into the end to see what...
You
what
know the end of the story.
Yeah.
It's a good
Because
ending.
Mike, and part of that is because Mike did not have a good home life growing up at all. And so you feel like you've been made new. Don't you?
I have been made new.
There you go.
Yes, Dave?
Silverman wants to know if there are any religious recipes in your book.
Religious?
No.
No,
No,
no.
I didn't even know there was such thing as religious.
Well, like for Hanukkah,
Yeah,
that
for
type
different-
of thing they have.
Linda said she had sarcoma cancer in her spine and is alive because of our Lord.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
wow,
great.
yeah, and that happens a lot. And you know, even when I didn't have things happen, though, you still have to have faith. There's a reason they're not. You know, we talk about all the exciting and wonderful things that we've happened to us, but you've got to remember, even there were times when my prayer didn't get answered, but
Yeah.
you know, I knew He was still working out
Well,
for good.
and like with us being sick, so we haven't gotten to that part of the story about how we got sick, but we've been sick for 28 years now. And quite frankly, living on a dime wouldn't be here if we didn't have gotten sick. I'm pretty sure.
We wouldn't be having any of these things at all. Nothing.
We wouldn't be having any of these discussions because most of what happened to us happened after we got sick. And because of that, this came along. And so you never know when God doesn't answer your prayer. How do you know if He's not answering it? Because something else is going to happen that's better and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Wow, where was it? We lost where we were. Plus Phoenix says it's an amazing cookbook, so comprehensive. Oh, Janine wants to know, how did you pay your rent when you were in...
You mean
shape?
when he first left? When my husband first left, well, it was hard. That was part of the. Well, I struggled so. I just had to. One thing though we did that helped me. We bought a house that was falling apart, and we had very, very low.
No, it was literally falling apart.
Yeah, literally.
It was.
If you
bad.
see these before and after shows, I was a before.
Yeah.
You know, type
Mom
of-
makes the before look like an after.
Yeah, when we first got it, and it was and granted, it wasn't the house of my dreams by any means, and it wasn't comfortable. I mean, I didn't have good heat, that type, no real air conditioning. I mean, I had
No
nothing.
central air, no air
I
conditioning.
had to go without a kitchen for a long time.
Windows from the 20s.
Yeah, it was just, I could actually see the wind blowing the curtains when the windows were closed. You know.
Ice would form on the inside.
On the inside.
So,
But we did that because that was all we could afford. And nowadays what happens is people rent or they buy homes that are way above what they really should be doing because they don't want to live in a bad neighborhood or, you know, and I'm not saying to live in like the ghettos or something, but, you know, just at a lower income, it doesn't hurt to do that. So that's how I did. We had, to start out with, we had a really low payment.
yeah,
Is
so
what
her
happened.
house payment was like $100 a month.
110. It was exactly 110. Yeah.
And so because of that, she was able to live on the $500 a month.
Because
to
I
do
kept
that.
things as low as possible. You
We
could have
didn't
a minimum.
turn on the heat.
Yeah, I didn't. I went without like that. So because I went without so much, I didn't take a shower every day, but you know.
We heated with firewood that we collected from sawmill. We were in the middle of the city. I mean, we lived in a city. We weren't out in the country anywhere, but we had no heat basically. Because it literally would have costed probably $1,200 to $1,500
It would have
to
been really
heat
bad, yeah.
our old Victorian 2,400 square foot house.
So we kept it to minimum. That way we were able to afford it. Even with the minimum wage, I could have done it. Yes,
Yeah,
Dave?
we closed off 3 of our rooms in the back. We had a kitchen, a bedroom, and a family room, and a bathroom, and we closed those off and we only lived
They were
in there.
tiny rooms,
Yeah.
yeah.
We only lived in there for 4 to 5 months in the winter and 4 to 5 months in the summer. And we slept on the floor.
Yeah.
We just made up a
We
mat
made
on the
do.
floor,
We made
and we
do.
made do. So
Did you have a question, Dave?
Yeah. Bella wanted to know if you ever considered remarrying.
Oh, that goes along with the dad thing. Yeah, I'm not against remarrying or anything. My children torment me on a regular basis over this. Yeah.
applications can be sent in the about.
Well, that
And
was...
don't send an application like you make $350,000 a year.
It has to be that much, huh?
At
Because
least.
you want them to keep you guys in the
Yes.
style too, besides me. Actually, I didn't remarry for a couple of different reasons. Should we get onto this now or wait? Okay. Well, first, yeah, Michael, did you?
Well, Martina was just saying she's trying to order books, but she can't get them in the cart, and she'd like to buy. So can you send me an email? And we should tell her to contact us on our contact form.
Oh, yeah. Go up to the top. There's a contact form if you're trying to order the book, Martina. And send me an email, and we'll help you with that. So
That work? Okay. But I took my marriage vows very seriously. And I think a lot of people, they go into a marriage, they work at it 3, 4, 5 years, and they spend that whole time destroying the marriage, not doing what they should probably be doing on the marriage, and gets it destroyed. And then they want to give up, and they'll go in for counseling. Well, they maybe will go into counseling for 6 months, and I always thought, you need to spend at least as much time working on it as you did destroying it, at least. And so
And by the way, we are not talking about husbands that are abusing their wives or
No,
vice versa.
No, if I was in a
So,
situation like that,
yeah.
I wouldn't have stayed. My
Yeah.
husband was,
He was a decent guy.
he was a good dad, and he was an excellent dad and husband.
Yes.
That wasn't what his problem was at all. But so I stuck it out for a couple of years after he left because he was doing counseling. We were working on things. But then he went, after he left, it was so hard, me trying to take care of us financially. I was working at least 60, 65 hours a week. Besides, I had no support network, really, none
We
whatsoever.
had no friends, no family.
Nobody,
And
so-
finally, eventually, we did have one friend that
Eventually,
kinda
I
helped us
did
out, but-
start having people, but at that point, I had nobody. So I had to take care of the kids by myself, do all the yard work, and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. So I was just exhausted and too busy. I wouldn't even consider dating. I mean, I didn't have time to. I was just collapsing in bed at night, and so that went on. Well, and another thing too, why I didn't remarry right then, my kids were getting older. And by the time I would have considered it, they were almost high school. I'd seen what the problems blended families had by working at the counseling center and just in my own world. And I thought, the kids loved their dad. They had a good dad. And I didn't want to bring somebody else into the mix at that point in their life. It was hard enough on them with dad leaving, let alone bringing a total stranger in. And I thought, I've got 3 years and they'll be out of high school. So why not just wait till they're gone and then maybe I'll start dating? Well, what happened was I got sick. The kids and I got sick, really bad sick. And at that point, it was, there was just no way because I couldn't crawl out of bed, let alone do anything else. And I pretty much have been sick. And so even though I felt a little bit better now, I wouldn't want to put myself on a husband to have to take care of me. I don't think that's right.
How do you feel about putting yourself on a husband to take care of you, dear?
What?
Well, I didn't want a husband to have to take
I
care of
see.
me, you see, and put that burden on him. And I'm getting selfish because I got to be honest, at my age, the guys are getting old enough that I may have to start taking care of them. I don't know if I'm up to it. So, yes, Dave.
So Mike has said along the sick and getting married thing. Do you want to give your 2 cents on that?
What did I say about it?
That you were warned when we got married about me being sick?
Well, I was warned, but I didn't really
listen to
understand.
his mother-in-law.
Well, it took me, honestly, being married to Tara for probably 15 years before I really understood what it really meant. Mm-hmm. And it was very frustrating in the beginning, especially. And so it's the kind of thing that I would tell somebody in that situation that really think, are they prepared for this? Because it was difficult.
Yeah.
It was very, very difficult.
Because we got married 6 months after we met, and I was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because I'm really sick, and Mom's like, "Are you sure you want?" Oh yeah, our love will keep us warm.
So, did you have something, Dave?
Yeah. 2 things.
Go for it.
So, what if your dad's watching the live stream?
Hi, Dad.
And also,
I think unlikely, but
Dolphin Man wants to know, will your mother be putting her cell phone number on the air at the end of this live?
Only if you earn $350,000 or more a
That's
year.
the truth. Yeah.
And you have to pass 2 children, 2 in-laws, 6 grandchildren, and the parents' approval.
That's a tough one.
Donna says, ice forming on the inside of the windows isn't normal. I'm not changing my windows.
Yeah, and we did do things like put plastic.
Oh yeah.
Some people don't even, probably people don't even know what this is,
You
but
put plastic over the windows.
you put plastic on the inside of your windows to keep it from blowing out, and every fall we would go and put plastic all over the
And
windows.
that plastic would bulge out like a big bubble sometimes on it.
Oh, and the wind would blow. I remember that.
I know. That's
That's frightening when you think about. So Dolphin Man Dave says we should praise the Lord that we can talk about this on the internet. So let's see. There were some people asked us. A couple of people asked what Jenna and Jessica.
Karen wants to know, do you wash your hair with baking soda?
Yes, I do.
So our no poo shampoo recipe is on our website. Michael put that up real quick.
Real quick.
Just type in shampoo. And that is what Mom... Now, it works really good on Mom's hair. But when I tried it, it didn't really work that well for me. And we have found that people either really, really love it
Or
it doesn't work at all. But give it at least 2 weeks.
oh yeah, you have to give it time to adjust.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what do you have to lose? A lot of people are so
Yeah.
afraid to try it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's baking soda. You can drink baking soda, so it's not like it's going to fry your hair
No.
or do horrible things to it. And Tara cut it today. I'm just very proud of my new haircut. Tara cut it for
it
me.
looks weird.
So she did a good job.
I could see
All right,
it cut like
pasting
5
the no poo
inches.
shampoo in.
Okay, so that recipe's in there now.
Oops, it's in the one, but not in the other one. Okay, now it's both.
We might talk more about the hair too on the makeup
Yeah, we'll probably
And,
do that more.
video.
Oh,
So Jenna and Jessica were both asking what denomination we are.
oh boy.
Well, I was raised Baptist.
I was raised Baptist. Mike was raised Catholic. And now...
You want me to say?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would say that we're Bible believing Christians, but we don't have a specific denomination that we
We did Chapel for
we really
quite a while.
we like Calvary
liked
Chapel.
for a while.
We currently go to an evangelical free church.
We liked E-Free churches too.
But basically,
We've been to a non-denominational church before.
so essentially, the Bible is an inspired Word of God. Of course, not all of the translations are correctly translated, but mostly.
Yeah, and we try to, as long as it has the basic fundamental about salvation and baptism and communion, that type of thing. If the church has that, and we feel like they're on target for their preaching and that type of thing.
But it's not about going to church.
Yeah, that's true.
You go to church to
That's
have...
why we hate to answer a denomination question.
You go to church to be with fellow believers, to help each other out and encourage each other. But it's really about having Christ as your Savior, knowing that you
Having a relationship with Christ.
You have to realize that He is your Savior. All of us have sinned. We're not going to heaven by being nice. We're not going to heaven getting points. We're not going to heaven by quoting this verse or this saying or whatever. You have to have a relationship with Jesus, and that's the only way you get to heaven.
It's not your relationship with the religion. It's
No.
relationship
You're not
with
going
Jesus.
to heaven if you were baptized as a child. Baptism for us...
Not because of that.
Yeah, you don't go to heaven because you were baptized as a child. You have to accept Christ as your Savior. Also, baptism for us is a way of showing that we are believers after we have accepted Christ. It is not a way to get to heaven for us. So if we find a church that has those things, then we do that. Now, I will say, I was talking to Kathy the other day, and she was saying how she was having a hard time finding a church. it's getting harder
It
and
is.
harder to
It
find
is.
really good Bible-believing churches. And I will tell you, we went to probably 30 churches in the Denver metro area. At one point, we were driving an hour to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's getting really hard to find churches that will preach the Bible and not just give in to everything.
Being
Because-
politically correct. and that.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there are some things that are specifically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot do those things and call yourself a Christian, period.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not about the church. But
Yes.
anyway.
Dave.
Multiple.
Well, actually, there's one that matches. Philosophy
okay.
Phoenix was asking which translations of the Bible I like.
That's what I
But
was just about to say.
I like, well, for easy reading, I like the New Living Translation. But also, New King James and New American Standard,
American
are
Standard.
really good for study because they're more precise.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there's something called an interlinear Bible that you can use that actually has the Greek next to the English, so you can see where somebody has added an article, like an N or an A or something that wasn't in the original. So you can, if you're studying that really carefully, you can try to make sure that
Yeah.
the way it translates seems right.
And I have an NIV is what I use. Not
And NIV
just-
is good.
Yeah.
But the older NIVs are better than the newer NIVs.
Yeah, and
so.
and I really, even though I just carry that one to church, I have a variety that I study from
Yes.
because I like to read 2 or 3 different versions to see.
Yes.
Yes, Dave.
Dad, Kathy wants to know any views on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, dear.
I like Jehovah's Witnesses as people, but I think that they're mistaken.
This is Mike's ministry.
I actually spoke with some Jehovah's Witnesses at one point, and we seem to have the same love for God, but their translation is incorrectly translated. The New World Translation is not correctly translated. And there were a lot of specific examples, like it says in the beginning, in John 1:1, it says in the beginning, the Word was with God and the Word was God, and that's talking about Jesus being God. But their translation has the word was a God. And when I was talking about the interlinear, the one with the Greek, you can look at that and see that a God is not there. It just says God. And
That's where
so
it comes in handy.
there are lots, I could talk for a long time on translation issues, but essentially their translation is not correctly translated. So,
And you know what, too, part of it is?
well, the other thing is if your faith is based on what a parent church organization tells you more than
Your relationship
the
with
Bible
God.
and your relationship directly with God, you should be a little bit concerned.
That's what I was going to say. If you need to pray for discernment, because God is going to lead you in the right direction. He's not, if it's like a child, if one of the kids comes to me and say, Nan, what should I do about this? I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to make you think about it, or I would help them along and try to teach them and pull them, to the right direction. And God does that with us. We just forget to ask Him. We don't
Ask him to show you the truth.
Show you which Bible do
Actually,
you think I should buy?
I have
Which
to
one do you
say-
think would be best for me? And pray about it.
When I grew up, I did not see people around me acting as if they really believed what they said. So there's a time in high school where I said, I'm not going to church anymore. And through college, I experimented with a lot of things that I think were not good directions to go. And
yeah, Mike was going to occults like witchcraft and that kind of thing, experimenting with those.
And there was one day where I just said, okay, Lord, if you're there, I don't know who you are, but it seems like that you have to be there. So show me who you are. And the thing is, I really meant it. It wasn't like well, if God's here, let him show me who he is. It was more of a really heart thing, like, okay, I've been seeking in these different ways, and I just don't understand. And he led me that way.
And it says,
Through some
seek
pretty
and ye
amazing
shall find. It's just that
things.
simple. Seek and ye shall find. And He really does love you enough if you just sincerely ask Him. I think the problem is we do ask selfishly or insincerely or out of just, we have to do this. So, but...
Wow.
Well,
lots and
Michael.
lots of questions and comments on all
Oh
that.
man. Okay, so we're gonna only have Q&A till Mom leaves. Okay, let's go back to over here and we'll pick up some of those.
Okay.
Jill, do you have any pets now since you love James so much?
I don't have any pets, no.
Nope.
It really broke my heart when I lost James. And the kids had moved out at that point, and I was sick by that point too. So it was like I knew I didn't have the strength to really properly take care of him or the money, you know. And so I didn't think it was wise for me to get another one.
So Philosophy Phoenix says, that's awesome, you guys. Thank you. Sorry to be so deep. That is a hilarious story. Tara. Also, Mike made a great video. She's talking about his
Fear
Do
video?
Not Be Afraid, which we can get the link for you there. And I believe that's the number one reason I overspend is fear. Can you get the link while we're discussing this?
For the fear
So, yes. So Philosophy Phoenix, we think that's the number one reason people overspend is fear. Period. I don't care what you say. It is fear.
And a lot of our articles on the website, we go talk about this over and over. So if you're having a problem with this, I mean, anybody out there is having a problem, it would help to...
And after everything we've been through, we know that no matter what, God is going to take care of us. We could be homeless on the street, but he will give us a bridge with covering for the night. He'll give us a cardboard box if we have to. And
but you know what? If worst comes to worst thing, if we die,
we're
going
going
to
to heaven.
heaven. So,
And we're not afraid to die. We are not afraid of not having money. We're not afraid of our cars breaking down. We're not afraid of losing our house. We're not afraid of having enough to eat.
We're not afraid of what other people think.
We're not afraid of what other people
That we don't have to have all this stuff because we want to impress other people.
Well, some of us aren't. Some of us are still works in progress.
Michael, you come amazing. He's really amazing. So
I just shared the link to the Do Not Be Afraid video for those of you who want to see that.
Yeah, so Mike made this video because, well, I don't mean to overstep, I hope not, but fear is a big thing in Mike's life, but he grew up in an abusive household, so that fear was ingrained in him. And he has gotten over that by reading verses and listening to sermons on fear, and that he does not have to be that way. And so if you have a problem with that, you just have to keep going over and over and rereading those verses and saying,
it won't go away permanently.
I will not be afraid.
Until after a certain point, it takes a while. It's like,
and it may never go away permanently, but you don't have to accept it.
Yeah, you know how to deal with it, and you just take care of it. It's like having a limp. You know that you got to put this special shoe on, so you get the shoe on, so you don't limp.
And just because a thought comes into your head,
you don't
does
have
not
to
mean it's the truth.
Yeah, and that you need to keep listening to it.
We have an enemy who's very crafty.
Yeah, that's why you have to be careful with self-pity and discourage that type of thing, because the minute that comes on, it's like...
If it creates fear or confusion, it's probably not from God.
Fear is not from God.
No.
Fear is from Satan.
Faith is from God.
Faith is from God. Yes, Dave?
Bob says they sell fear on TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh, they
and
do.
that's
Well,
exactly what it is.
That's why, after having been a television producer for 20 years, I can say it's fear is what they're selling in advertising and in news. And a lot of shows are selling fear.
Yeah.
If it's making you afraid, it's probably not
Yep.
good.
Rain Country Homestead said, I am currently without a church because I could not take what was happening in the churches here. It only has become worse since I left, and it shocks me how bad it is. Exactly. But that is not an excuse for staying away from good preaching. We have the internet. We did not...
I worked at a church that went to war against itself while I was on staff, and it was
bad.
And I was not on either side.
And we got
but
caught
we were
in the middle.
caught in the middle, and we were being harmed by that. But people have asked me, how can you not be mad at God for that? And I was thinking, it was like being by the razor wire in World War I and seeing the battle go all around and seeing God still working in the middle of all that. And I said, God is not those people.
Yeah. That's where people get things mixed up. They associate God with Christians. We're just like other people. We have faults. We do things wrong. God isn't that, though. He's not that.
Well,
and so he's not the church in the sense that when things happen.
Well, and I was talking about praying and saying, show me who you are. I think he really... I have a relationship with him now, and I think he he really showed me himself in a way that other people cannot take away now. And it is
You're
true.
not worshiping people, you're worshiping God.
Yeah, but after that
your
church
eyes on them.
experience, we were having a great difficulty because we kept seeing hints of the same problem in all the churches we were visiting. And so we ended up having church at home with some friends and family with preaching on the internet from a church in Florida.
So, and we'll give you a couple of lists of those real quick after he's done.
So-
Oh, are you done? Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you do not have a church, there are several people who are really good Bible. They believe they preach from the Bible, and they actually preach the Bible. Now, getting up and reading one story or reading one
And
verse,
they're
and
not-
then it's stories the whole rest of the sermon is not preaching. So, David Jeremiah is a real good one. Charles Stanley is a good one. Chuck Swindoll.
Andy Stanley.
Andy Stanley, who is Charles Stanley's son, is a good one.
Andy.
And Joyce Meyer is a really good one. There was somebody else the other day I just thought of. Oh shoot, it just went through my head. Those are all really good Bible believing churches that if you can't get to church, watch them and listen to them.
My favorite is David Jeremiah.
Yeah.
I really like.
Chuck Swindoll is
very
really good.
Yeah, and Chuck Swindoll. They're very balanced. They're
Yeah.
older and they're very balanced in their preaching, and I like them the best.
Yeah.
And you know, it says not to forsake the gathering of yourself together is what it talks about. And so as long as you try to have Christian friends, you know, if you can get maybe somebody else to watch it with you or something, you need that support is what the Bible talks about. We need each other. Even like now, we have readers that we know who are Christians, and we can support each other. Even if we were in a situation where you didn't have a church, we don't recommend not going, but if it is a situation where you don't have one, you know, there's ways to overcome that.
The Calum Family Church.
Your son actually
Bella
read
wants
that.
to know, how do you
Yeah.
keep the Christmas spirit throughout the year, Jill?
How to keep the Christmas
How do you
spirit?
keep it throughout the year?
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because I think I've told this story before. My son, he was in his 30s then, and he asked me one year, he said, we were driving to church one morning, and it was at Christmas time. He said, Mom, do you think we'll have Christmas up in heaven, that we'll celebrate Christmas up in heaven? And of
That's
course,
gonna be
he
amazing.
threw me off there for a second, and I thought, you know, it's like a 4-year-old asking, except this was a grown man asking me, and I had to stop.
I'm not making faces at Mom. I thought I was going to sneeze.
And I had to think for a second, and it dawned on me, we're not going to probably celebrate Christmas like we do here in heaven. It's going to be like Christmas every single day in heaven. You're going to have the faith, and you're going to have the joy, and you're going to have the peace. And you know, if you can start doing that in your life and have that faith and that peace and that joy and that love, above all else, that caring for, even for your family. You need to start out with your family loving them, let alone everybody worries about loving other people. Half the Christian families don't even love each other. And if you have that, then that'll be Christmas all year long. You know, that's how you do it all year long.
Yep.
Yeah. Oops, I missed some others. Let's see. Yeah, Dolphin Man says sometimes our Lord is quiet. And Bella says God draws straight lines with crooked lines.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
And you know, when God's quiet, you don't need to panic. You may not feel His presence, and you may not hear Him, but He will never, ever leave you, no matter what. He will be there. It doesn't matter. And it's almost, those are the times that are kind of hard, when you can't hear Him. You think you should be on this mountaintop all the time, but if you can go through those quiet times and just rest in Him and know you're still here, I know you're here,
Yep.
then
So I was deciding whether or not I should answer this. Pamela says, Mike, would you consider doing devotionals? I've had people ask me about doing Bible study stuff, and I'm interested, but after the experience I had working at the church, I kind of would like to make sure that I feel like God is calling me to it before I do. But I would say if you are interested in that, maybe if you go to our website, Living on a Dime, to the contact page and tell us that, I can privately communicate with you and see. I'm interested, but I'm just want to make sure I'm actually called to do that at that time.
So Sin says, I made your walnut butter cookies this morning, and they are so wonderful.
They are so good. I didn't get mine this year. I'm just dying
We
for
can
it.
still make them.
I know. I'm the only one that eats them, though, and I just love those things.
I don't like
They're
them.
pure butter almost. They're almost pure butter and nuts is what they
Yeah,
are.
I can't eat them.
Well, and Patricia says, hello again from South Dakota. Just last night I used your fudge recipes. I made 3 different kinds and they turned out great.
Oh,
Thank you so much for your wonderful shows. And she says, I love watching your whole family. Even my husband watches your shows.
Thank you, Patricia.
You know, I appreciate all those husbands that get drug in every time to have to watch us.
Rain Country Homestead wants to know, with our book, if we guarantee that the meals will cook themselves.
Oh, man, I wish.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh, so we have to tell you a funny story today. So we'll recreate what happened.
You guys
here.
should have been here
We'll
this
recreate. Are you ready?
You know I have early onset Alzheimer's. I won't remember this.
Remember that?
Did I say that?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so Mom went to the refrigerator, which is looking pretty empty because I cleaned it out
This
the
is
other
like
day.
1:30 now. I haven't eaten since breakfast early that morning. So go ahead. And I'm starving. And I'm
go ahead.
shaking. Well, I said I'm shaking. I said, I need to get some food in me. It's like 1:30, and I'm just looking in the refrigerator, and I said, there's nothing in here to eat. And so then,
I said, well, don't worry, we have groceries coming tomorrow afternoon.
so it's like, yeah, I'm going to wait till tomorrow
I
afternoon.
said, I said some people expect to eat every day.
Really? We have no milk, we have no eggs.
There's nothing.
I did buy a loaf of French bread today that all the boys
And the
have
boys
eaten.
and them just
We're out of
tore it apart. They
all
didn't
the
cut it. They just
tortillas.
were tearing it.
We're out of all the crackers. We're out of everything.
Well, then, and Dave said, Nan, this is what we have to deal with every day.
Whatever.
So,
Oh yeah, wataver. Okay, let's see.
There's probably a whole bunch that I didn't get yet in here,
Okay.
I betcha. Actually, I hope we haven't missed any, but
we're sorry if we don't.
Maybe
get
we'll
it.
do this again Friday. We'll keep going now, but if you don't get your question now, go to the contact page at livingonadime.com. Click on the contact, read our questions. Email me your questions, the ones that are emailed, or if you're on YouTube, specifically in the comments in YouTube, I will pull those out for Friday if we don't get your question answered today, okay?
so sorry. We're still there are a lot of people making comments about God and stuff, and so I just thought a couple that stuck out. Deanie says, "Know God for yourself." I love that. Yes, that really is it. To know God for yourself.
Yeah, you have to have a relationship with Him.
And if you need someone else to tell you what's right and you don't look yourself, you're going to be led astray.
And if you question something in the Bible,
It's good to have people that advise you,
Yeah.
but you need to check it. The Bible talks about the Bereans, this group of people that they would listen and they would say, "This is great preaching," and then they'd open up the Bible or the scriptures and they'd look and see if what they were told was actually
exactly. Yeah. So if
'Cause-
you're wondering on a preacher if something is right, look it up for yourself. We have Bible Gateway is great. You can
Bible
type
Gateway
in
is
any
awesome.
phrase,
Also,
any
you can-
subject.
You
And
can.
they have like every single different Bible.
They have every translation on Bible Gateway. It's great. So, and there are some pastors like Joel Osteen. He is an encouraging pastor. He's not a teaching from the Bible pastor as far as he doesn't give you Bible verses. And he's okay. And I've gotten some good things from him. But you want a preacher that is going to reference more than
That's
once.
well balanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We had a pastor once that said, I'm going to start preaching in Matthew, and I'm just going to preach all the way through until I get to the end of the Bible. Because he said, I'm not going to pick this subject or that subject. He said, a lot of preachers tend to preach subjects they're really passionate about and stick to it, or that they have a problem with, so they preach on that. He said, I should be able to preach through this whole Bible.
Well, we one time had a pastor every single Sunday. I kid you not. It was on, marriage things. And since this is a family show. And every single Sunday, that's all he talked about. And we're like, what is your problem, dude? We kind of get it already. Well, come to find out, he was messing around. And he should have been listening to his own preaching. But if preachers starts preaching on only one thing like that,
Yeah, there's maybe
then
something wrong.
If there's not a balance,
You have to it has to be balanced.
Or some preachers, like David Jeremiah, has a gift of prophecy. He is very good about seeing end time things happening and warning about this, but he also uses it in the general scheme
for everyday life
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you want to look for.
I can also say that there are some pastors that are not on target all the way, but God may use them at a certain point in your life to bring you closer to Him. So I'm hesitant to criticize the ones I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Because I realized when I first came, the pastor that I really listened to, I think I wouldn't agree with him now after having studied a lot myself. But God used him at that point in my life.
That's why you have to pray for discernment. That's really, I don't think people talk about that enough. You need to
ask for it.
You have to ask God to show you in your heart. And if the least little thing, what was it? Something happened just the other day, and I thought, oh my goodness, it's a good thing I listened to that little voice and didn't do it. Oh, it was the trip. When Tara said, why don't you go ahead and come early? Just come early on Friday. And I was frantically trying to get ready, and I was insane. I couldn't get packed up, and
Nothing was working.
Nothing was working out, and I kept getting this feeling that I shouldn't be leaving. And I couldn't get it. And finally I said, you know what? First of all, God doesn't want me hurrying. Only Satan causes you to hurry. And I thought, I'm just not going to go. I told Tara, I said, I just can't make it out today. And then my neighbor called, and then my son was frantically calling me because he thought I'd left already because there was a big, huge pileup on the highway about where I was supposed to be at the time. You know, it would have been.
So sometimes things happen and you get mad and you're like, why can I just get going on this trip? Well, you don't know that God's not preventing
you
you from dying in some car accident. Or...
And when you can learn that, there's a lot more peace in your life. You're much calmer, and there's much more peace in your life. So
Dee Dee says God can use a donkey to get a message out, so He can use a lot of people.
Isn't that the truth? Yes.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know that story, there was a guy riding a donkey named Balaam, and he was going to curse Israel, and God didn't want him to go curse Israel, and he wasn't listening. And the donkey kept stopping and not going forward, even though he was beating the donkey. And finally, God let the donkey talk to him and say, hey, why are you beating me? And it was because God was going to strike him for going to attack Israel. But the donkey could see an angel, and Balaam didn't.
Okay,
so anyway.
Sorry, guys. I'm getting a cold, so that's why I'm...
So...
Linda says,
This one?
I want to hear your fibromyalgia story, how you got it. Okay, so that's going to be a whole video that we're going to do. The short of it is, my brother came down with the flu, then Mom got the flu, and then I got the flu, and we never got better. That's the short of it. We'll go into the longer version, actually, that's coming up pretty soon.
Part of my story is we're working our way down to when we got sick and how we managed to live on things whenever we got sick, on the money I was had.
So we know now.
And we'll go into a lot of detail about us being sick when we get to that point.
Yeah. And part of that also we know now is that flu set off a genetic reaction in us. And now they're learning that these things are causing your genes to kick in, so to speak, and cause to have all these problems. But we'll go into that later. So anyway,
Let's see. Patricia says sometimes you have to thank God for unanswered prayers. Yep.
Are we going to go super late?
Yeah.
So let's see. There are probably more on that side that I haven't seen, but let's see. A lot more, but they're largely on the same topic, which is awesome. But let's see. Yeah, Bob says people go to church but don't read the Bible. I don't get it. When you read it, you know what it says, and you don't have to take someone's word for it. It's true. It is difficult to read, and honestly, if you're curious but you're not really sure, I've heard somebody who was wiser than me, when asked what Bible version to read, say the one you will actually read. Yep. And the reason why the New Living Translation is not necessarily a good one to look at to distinguish some fine point, but it's very, very good at explaining it in a language that everyone easily understands, which is
And
why I like it.
Just because you go to church doesn't mean you're a Christian. Just the same as you can't stand in a garage and turn into a car.
Like the people.
It's
Well,
not going to happen.
Hold on a sec, Dave.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say on the Bible thing is certain parts are really hard to read. So it's helpful to find out from someone who kind
I
of already
think
knows.
John is usually the first book that they usually recommend.
John is in the New
Pretty good.
Testament, but it's John and the first 4 Gospels and a couple of the books after that
Matthew,
are really
Mark,
helpful.
Luke, John, or
And then at the beginning of the
Romans is good,
Bible,
too.
Genesis and Exodus are pretty easy to read in their history, but then you get into Leviticus and Numbers and it gets really hard.
Yeah.
And so if you're not sure, you can ask someone who knows.
what to start out
Where to
with,
start.
which would be the best.
Yeah.
So, Sherry, a good peanut butter fudge recipe would be 2 to 3 cups of peanut butter chips and 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. We have a video on that. It's really super good and super easy. Make sure you get at least 12 ounces of chips, though. There's a little discrepancy between whether you should use 12 ounces or 18 ounces, but the fudge turns out about the same. It's either a little softer or a little bit on the harder
if I have to scoop
side.
it out of the pan, I don't care.
But yeah, 2 to 3 cups of peanut butter chips to 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. Melt it all together, pour it in a greased pan, and you're done.
Chill it. Did you have something, Dave, you were going to
Oh
say?
no, someone already did it.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Did you have one?
There are a lot of people
Oh, okay.
kind of
So
repeating some of what we said and
Philosophy Nick's
agreeing.
wanted to know how we got engaged.
Oh no, I'm worried.
Let's cover our ears, huh, Dave?
You know, in those days, I thought it was romantic.
Now, with all the YouTube proposals, I got gypped.
So we went up. Well, Tara wasn't totally surprised. She knew it was coming.
Since we'd already gone and bought the ring at a pawn shop. I was like, we are not going into debt to buy me an engagement ring.
Little did I know how easily she destroys them as a gardener. But we used to go up to Rocky Mountain National Park here in Colorado pretty much every day when we were dating because we lived right in the Estes
We lived
Park,
in Estes Park.
right in front of the national park.
Well, I
So-
did. He lived in Fort Collins and I lived in Estes, yeah.
Yeah, so there's the Old Fall River Road is this dirt road that goes up one way from like 1920, and there's a waterfall there called Chasm Falls. And so we went to the waterfall and we went out in the middle of the water. Below the waterfall there was this rock and we had a picnic there. And then I asked her there, so.
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And she's like, "Wait, are you really asking?"
Because I thought he was going to ask me on my birthday, and it was 3 days before my birthday.
I could tell she was anticipating that I was going to ask, so I thought, I can't ask on the predictable time, so I took her beforehand. So,
No, Linda, it wasn't mold that caused us to get sick.
No.
But I do have a problem with mold, and that does trigger me.
Yeah, we have been, what people don't understand, we were on the CDC study, a very serious study, when they first started finding out about it. And when we were on that study, it was so controlled that only 80 people out of 500 that were diagnosed with it actually got on the program because they found out other people had this and that and the other wrong, or, wrong with them. But the study was so controlled, they checked our mold, they checked any chemicals we'd been around, what we'd been eating, everything about our house, all this type of thing. All that was completely checked out and dismissed. Mm-hmm. So we have been we know that it is none of those things at all. That's why we're so sure of this stuff, because we were on a very, very intense study for that.
Yeah. For 10 years, the CDC studied us.
Yeah, for stuff, so we know.
And after that study, before they came out with they were working on genetic engineering at the time, but or is that what it's called? Genetic medicine? I don't know, whatever you call it. But it hadn't come around yet. And they told us that it was a virus that attacks and then causes a genetic problem to kick in, but they couldn't figure it out. Well, now they've started figuring some of that out.
And we still have the virus in it. It will never go away. We just have to learn to control
but
things.
I lost track of where it was, but somebody was asking, how did we meet?
So I worked with Mike's sister at the fudge shop in Estes Park, and his sister was leaving to go to Texas, and he came up to
say goodbye.
say goodbye, but he ended up talking to me instead of his sister.
Well, she said, I'm busy right now. Just wait over there. I was thinking, okay, I've been waiting a while here. Who's this cutie?
So he saw me in an apron and just knew I'd cook lovely gourmet meals for him and fudge
no
every
idea.
day.
He had no idea.
When you see a girl in an apron in a fudge shop.
Now I'm like, well,
But then
let's see. Can we have beans and rice again?
Linda says, wow, did CDC come to your home or call you?
We went to them first, and then they called us for 10 years. We had to fill out.
We had to do stuff.
Questionnaires
We
and stuff.
took pints of blood. We
Yeah.
had to do all this physical and mental. They did it psychiatric evaluation.
And I'm mentally stable, honey.
Tara always says I have papers to prove I'm normal because we had to be emotionally stable and and mentally stable.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lots of people talking about fudge.
It's Emily's.
Okay, well, let's see. Philosophy Phoenix says, my husband proposed in the hallway. He's a computer programmer, can you tell? Sue says, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sue says, Jill, love your beaded bracelet. Did you make it yourself?
No, they sell them here at the Dollar Tree. The dollar store, and I think one of the kids gave them to me or something.
By the way, what Dolphin Man was telling somebody about Simply Circus. What time do they come on?
So Simply Circus comes on at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight with the Homestead Network. So they're going to be on at 9 p.m. Eastern. So,
Okay.
yes.
Standard time.
All right, guys. So we're past and we're getting ready to go caroling. Woo-hoo.
So there's an old church building in a town near us. There's not actually a church happening in it, but
It's called Highland Lake.
Uncle Dave said
There's
hi.
no heat. They have
Hi,
no
Dave.
electricity. We have a caroling service and a Christmas service by candlelight.
Dan, Uncle Dave said hi, Mom.
Oh, hi. Well, hi, son of mine.
Hi, brother.
I
but
know
anyway,
you miss me already.
sorry, but we've gone there every year since we lived here, haven't
Yeah,
we?
we have.
It's fun. There's no power in the building. And
Yeah.
There's no power.
The ladies serve like an old-fashioned tea almost, where they have all the cookies on the fancy platters.
They have
and-
caroling. It's at 7 o'clock at Highland Lake Church if anybody's there. If anybody wants to come.
Wow. All
Oh,
right.
we shouldn't say that. We might end up with 150 people over there and not know it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Some of these, do we want to answer any more questions? Joni wants to know what wholesome fictional authors you guys like the most.
So Mom and I like,
Grace Livingston Hill,
is there probably our
Essie.
number one.
Essie Summers. I like Essie Summers.
Betty Niels
Uh-huh.
is another one.
Janetta.
Yeah, Jeanette
Jeanette
Oaks. Jeanette Oaks. Jeanette Oaks?
Jeanette. I don't know how you pronounce
Jeanette Oaks, I think. I don't remember how you say her name.
She wrote like When
When
Calls the Heart and all those. Love Comes Soft.
Gilbert Morris is a good one. His historical fictions are good. We like historical fictions. We like clean stories. I do not like Beverly Lewis. She is so depressing. I know that she's supposed to be inspirational.
I have trouble with a lot of the Christian romances because they do feel kind of discouraging when it's all this.
For us, we have this stuff going on every day in our
So
lives.
I don't want to read about it. No.
So we want to hear something happy and uplifting, not something that's
we read for to take us away from
from
it
our
all.
problems, not to remind
Not
us
to
of
remind
our
us.
problems. And even though in the end God works it all out, and He does,
It's still.
you still don't want to be reading that
No.
stuff. It's depressing.
Go
so,
ahead, Michael.
yeah.
Same thing with Christmas songs. We don't want the depressing Christmas songs.
If I hear, okay, I'm gonna vent.
Oh, dear.
Baby, it's cold outside. Driving me crazy. That is the stupidest Christmas song ever written.
No, the stupidest
And they
one
keep
is-
playing it over and over and over. And now they're saying how it's a song against women and all this. And I'm like, that woman is not exactly fighting him off very hard.
But it's also not a song we want our kids listening to. Well,
So we don't listen. We try not to listen to that kind of stuff. Although the other day at the church caroling, Jack started singing.
Jack starts singing.
and some of our friends from the church were like,
We're like, oh no.
but, well, also there's one about, Okay, I appreciate the fact that there are people in the world who are not able to celebrate Christmas the way that we do. But there's a song from the 80s about how they're not having Christmas in Africa, and the song is super depressing, and it offers no solutions.
I don't like that one at all.
It offers no solutions to the problem. It's just depressing for the ability of being depressing. I think I don't want to hear that song on there. So, but since we can't control the station, we just change it.
Yes, Amy, I am still my girl in the apron. To be perfectly honest, I'm in the apron because I had nothing Christmassy put on.
This is
I need
really
to do
a cute apron.
Yes,
I like the
and
way
I love the apron
the bottom
Penny
is.
sent me. It's so cute. So I
That
was
is really
like,
cute.
Yum, Rain Country Homestead says just using up some leftover beef roast and making a beef gravy to go over rice. Nothing fancy, but one of our favorite ways to use up. Absolutely, I love it.
Another recipe we have in the book is to take the leftover roast beef with gravy and put it over bread, just like bread. Oh, that's really yummy.
Smile
Hot
for
roast beef
E1.
sandwiches.
Smile for E1 loves your elf hat.
didn't do my hair either.
Do we want to answer any more questions? Because Bella wants to know what your favorite hobbies are.
Mine is gardening and soap making. Mom's,
I don't have any hobbies.
well, you sew,
I
but she
sew,
doesn't really
but I
like
don't
it.
really like it, so it's not really a hobby. That's terrible.
We read. We do read.
Reading would be mine.
Yeah.
I am addicted. I really am addicted bad to reading.
Yeah.
I'll keep a book with me 24/7.
Yeah, what we need to do is start a reading club where we all pass the books around.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So
Like the movie site that we were talking about that one time.
Yeah.
Lilia?
Leela?
Well,
Lee?
it's the I is afterwards, so I was sure.
Oh.
It says, I was in the bathroom getting ready for a Halloween party when my husband asked me. I guess it's safe when there's a door between you in case
Yeah,
she says no.
kidding.
So,
All right, guys. So if you have a specific question and you're on YouTube, go to the comments below, and any comments posted today or until Friday, I will answer. Mom and I will try to answer them. And if you go to our contact page at livingonadime.com, on the top right corner is contact. Just click on reader general question, and all those we will do first next Friday.
video?
Yeah,
oh, so we're doing more questions on Friday.
apparently.
So stand by. And by the way, Bella says, will you guys do a show on New Year's Eve? That would be fun. It might be fun.
Do what?
do a
what?
show on
If
New
you
Year's
do a show
Eve.
on New Year's Eve. It's Tara's
We
New
don't
Year's
have a
Eve.
lot
Why
bash.
don't you just
We-
sit here?
We don't have a life anyway, so we might as well, Michael.
We don't do anything for New Year's Eve. We're boring.
Look at that. The ball is still there. It's not coming down yet. Actually, I really like the New Year's that we see on video from London. The London Eye and everything.
So did anybody wait up on the year 2000 to see if the world was going to explode on itself?
I didn't. I went to bed at 9 o'clock. No.
All right, guys. We will see you Friday at 4:30 Mountain. Please visit our website and buy us our books. That's how we make our money. Believe me, we aren't making it on YouTube. So YouTubers don't make that much money. Believe me, we barely make our house payment, and that's it. So we're not rich by YouTube by any means. So buy our books, please, if you don't have them. livingonadime.com. We will be back Friday at 4:30 Mountain Time, 6:30 Eastern. Simply Circus with the Homestead Network is on at 9 p.m. after us Eastern tonight. And we are off to go carol.
Yay! Again.
Again.
All right. Awesome.
All right. See you
Thanks for
guys.
joining us,
Bye.
everyone. We'll see you later.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Facebook has been cut off, and let me cut off the rest of the world.
Mom?
Amy wants to do a monthly book club.